Well, a congressional subcommittee today will hold hearings about United's intention to merge with Continental Airlines, highlighting the consolidation in the entire airline space. With me now to talk more about the urge to merge, first on Bloomberg is Steve Ridgway. He's the chief executive of Virgin Atlantic, live in Las Vegas. Steve, great to have you with us.
Yeah, good morning. Great to be here. It's lovely and cool still at the moment.
Oh, good. Oh, but that's unusual for Las Vegas.
Oh, it's going to get hot later, so this is a good time.
I imagine. Okay. So aside from the weather, I know that you guys in the industry are looking a lot at consolidation and expansion. You're one of the few airlines still standalone. How do you look, when you look out on the spectrum, what are you seeing in terms of consolidation for yourselves?
Well, I think clearly there's a lot of change going on in the industry. You just mentioned the big mergers that are taking place in the US. We're obviously mindful of that. We can see it's happening. It probably needs to happen in some cases. What we're always on our guard about is making sure that if that consolidation takes place and if those mergers happen, that they're fully scrutinized by the competition authorities and they remain in the interest of consumers. Virgin Atlantic has long been a standalone company. We are fine like that, and I'm sure that will continue. But equally, if opportunities arise to be able to be stronger or compete more effectively, we would certainly look at that as well. But you have to remember that we are a small company competing with the giants.
Right, but I read some reports that you are looking at some options, and perhaps within the next 18 months or so, you might make some sort of decision. Is that right, Steve?
Well, there's no definite time frame around anything, but we are always looking at ways that we can enhance our business. We do make some small acquisitions from time to time in our holiday company, which is so successful here to Las Vegas. But there's no main plans at the moment. But obviously, we watch what goes on around us very carefully to make sure that we can carry on competing and providing the service that we've been renowned for quite a long time now.
Right, and I know, Steve, one of the ones that you're watching very closely, you have, of course, which is British Airways and American Airlines and their tie-up, and how that affects you, particularly with your hub at Heathrow. Have you given up all efforts to try to block this merger or try to counter it?
No, we have been fighting BAA for 12 years. This is the third time. We have been very consistent about demanding that the competition authorities, both in the US and in Europe, scrutinize that very carefully, because it's a mega merger. It brings two giant companies together, and you have to remember that Heathrow is full. It's very difficult to provide further competition to that. So we are still out there fighting hard to make sure that consumers' interests are protected.
So you haven't resigned. You haven't resigned to the fact that it's already done.
No, we've had early indications, and we've had opportunities to go back to the authorities to make sure that they continue to tighten up and make sure that the remedies are effective, as indeed was the case on the previous two occasions where it certainly was viewed as being against the consumer's interests, which it still is today, and we need to make sure the remedies are effective.
And Steve, what about the competition in Asia? I know Emirates is now really rising up with those with the traffic routes there.
Yeah, well, the Gulf carriers have been growing formidably for many, many years. They're clearly a rather different business model to Virgin Atlantic, where we are operating on many of the big North Atlantic trunks and many of the big routes out of the north of Europe. So they're flowing large volumes of traffic through the Middle East. So it's slightly different to what we're doing. But clearly, they are providing amazing competition to everybody.
Okay, and Steve, just on a final note, I want to get your overall outlook on the air traffic recovery. I mean, we are seeing lots of problems arise in Europe. We're still getting out of a recession here in the U.S. What is your forecast for recovery for air traffic?
Well, we are seeing a recovery. I mean, one of the reasons we're here today is because this is our 10th anniversary of flying to Las Vegas. We've announced additional service next year coming in from Manchester, which will bring another 40,000 passengers into Vegas next year. I think we've flown over 2 million passengers in the last 10 years, which has been worth about $1 billion to the local economy. So I think it's important to look at what's happening with the different markets. We did see load factors recover at the end of last year and through the early part of this year, and now it's about getting the fares and the yields back to a place where the airlines can return to profitability, because clearly they fell off a cliff last year and at the end of 2008. So yes, there is a recovery there across the aircraft, but we've still got quite a long way to go to get the fares back where they need to be, especially with fuel prices remaining pretty high. Yeah, okay. All right, Steve, so from recovery to growth, the future of Virgin Atlantic, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Steve Ridgway, the CEO of Virgin.